Greetings in the love and in the light of our infinite prime creator, the divine grid programmer. Namaste, namaskaram. I've had a request to finish out reading from this work, Awaken as You Read, Downloads from the Nine, written, well, it says recognize your higher self effortlessly, even though sometimes you may not be able to pronounce it, by Matthias Fleury. And so I actually read this, and I think only one of them got loaded up to YouTube, and the other ones were on BitChute, and somehow those all stopped working, and the original video files were deleted. However, the reason for this video is because I want to stress how important this particular book was for me, is for me. And of course, I'm gonna, go back and there's a request to, provide the videos with the rest of the material. I'm gonna do so gladly. I just want to explain though about this particular book, and I actually own it in the hard copy. I do that. A lot of books that are important. If initially I encounter them in a PDF format, and I spend some time with them, I go and I buy the hard copy. But this book actually, I own the Kindle version, which is how I was first introduced to it, and I found a way to get free PDF versions, but I still went and bought the book, and I do that with certain books that are important because I'm 50. How old am I? I'm 53 years of age, and I'm very tactile and or handsy or whatever, hands-on. But I don't trust electronic media. I'm I guess Generation X, and specifically a nomad Generation X, but I was born in 1969 in summer. So my generation is unique in that I grew up, I never had a computer until I was in the Army, active duty Army, like in 94. I never had no, it was actually longer. I never actually spent time with personal computers until about 1996, because other soldiers that I was active Army with, they had computers, and they were all about, like, I remember some of my friends in Army, these guys, they were all in the motor pool, pretty interesting group of guys, mind you. They all, on their dog tags, because on your dog tags it has your blood type and your name, of course, your social security number, and your preferred religion. I had Zen on mine. That was my religion, Zen. And they had Satanism on theirs. They were an interesting group of guys, but the Army, had to recognize it, and it's pretty funny. Like their ritual items that they use for their religious observances, like their ceremonial daggers and all that. They had to keep them all in the arms room, locked up with the weapons and stuff. But anyway, my point is those guys, they had computers, and I remember watching them play Diablo, and I was fascinated with it. And while they would go off in the weekends, if we ever we're all off duty at the same time, those guys would be going out, doing whatever Satanists do on the weekends, and they would let me stay in there because there were like sometimes 2 and 3 people, soldiers, to a room if you lived on base, and I would remember being in their rooms, locked in their rooms all weekend long, playing Diablo and just soaking up the world of computing. And that was like in 1990, mid-90s or whatever. And then I didn't get my own computer until probably much later, till like around 2003 or 2004. So where was I? Why was I talking about that? But anyway, because of my generation, we straddle, before we didn't have technology. We know what it's like to grow up without computers and all that kind of stuff, and not like how it is today. As soon as a kid's born, practically they have a smartphone and anyway. So enough of that. But I even forgot why I was talking about that generational thing. But oh, because I like hard copies of books. Like I just don't trust. I believe the grid could go down, like with electricity, whatever. So I like to have it. I like to have the versions, hard versions, and whatnot. So that's the story. That I actually have this in the Kindle version. I paid for that. I have the hard copy version, paperback version, and then I have the PDF version. And it's a very important book. Let me get back on track, because for me, let's say I was a quote unquote spiritual person for my life. I mean, I was doing Kriya yoga when I was in high school and college, back in late 80s, early 90s, and always, and my college degrees in intercultural relations, and I was a linguist in the Army. I was a Chinese Mandarin linguist. I studied Japanese in college, of course Spanish all through high school, and then in college again. And my major was intercultural studies, international relations. So there was an opportunity to take tons of anthropology type classes and stuff, and my professors and all were, they were into shamanism, and it was just, so I've always have been on this path. However, I can honestly say that it was always all that stuff that I was into. I mean, I may have had breakthroughs in certain points and epiphanies and life changes. I mean, I really always felt that I've been guided, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I feel I've been guided for certain things, but I can honestly say that it wasn't until August 11th of 2021 where things were not so cerebral for me. Like I look back at August 11th, 2021 as a turning point in my life. And if you knew how I was living for 4 or 5 years up to that point, and know how I am now, it's night and day. So, but August 11th of 2021 is what I consider my, download, when I was transfixed in bed, having all this information and sensations, and it was more than just like knowledge. The best way I can describe it is, whereas love was more like the understanding of love, agape, and oh yeah, there's different kinds of love in Greek, and understanding and blah, blah, blah. But all that, of course, I had been in love and understood love and all that, and loved my guitars and stuff and guns and whatnot, but, and some of the girlfriends I had. But, it was a cerebral thing. And then at that point on August 11th, 2021, it became, it was becoming part of me. Like this, it was a dramatic introduction to a whole nother type of being. And it was at that point that, for some reason, this term starseed got into my mind. And I'd never ever thought about anything like that before. I mean, but anyway, it was just in my mind. And then I bought a couple of books. I got Dolores Cannon, 3 Waves of Volunteers, and I got Patricia Corey's book, No More Secrets, No More Lies. And for some reason, I was just guided to that stuff. I didn't know, I had never heard of it, never read about it. I mean, the only kind of books I had that were similar to that were things like on, yoga and some magic, ceremonial magic and stuff, but nothing to do with that connected to other planets and other, entities and channelings and all that kind of stuff and being guided. And I can tell you from that moment up until September 21st, or September 24th of 2021, when I had experienced a full Kundalini awakening. Okay, and so to get back to this book, and also to reference, I'm not going to play this video, but I recommend watching this video because I don't want to get another copyright claim. Well, I don't know what that means, but played a Megadeth song in my last video and they put a copyright claim. I don't know if I'm going to get sued. I don't know. But anyway, I recommend watching this video by Sadhguru, where he talks Kundalini Yoga, Awakening the Chakra. I'll leave the link in this video here if anybody's interested. But first of all, Sadhguru, and specifically mantras by his ashram Isha Kriya Yoga, is directly responsible for what set off my Kundalini awakening, which I had no intention, I had no idea, I was not thinking the furthest thing away from what Kundalini was not on my mind at all. It was just, became transfixed with one of the mantras that his ashram has out, and transfixed to the point where I chanted the mantra literally all day long. Like it was a video that was 11 hours, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. And it was a constant looping of this mantra that involved, like, tablas, and it involved flute, and it's a very well done mantra. It's the Om Namah Shivaya mantra, but I did it like, I don't know, I did it all day and all night long. And there were moments where, if I took a break, but there was one moment I remember where I took a break and I went outside and was staring into the sun. And when I came back in and started with the mantra again, I just exploded. Literally, just this column of power went up through me, and I felt like I could have just floated off the ground. And I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I was like kind of like stood there, like, well, actually like leaned over too, like in this kind of push-up mode, but like just letting this go through me. And my memory is a little kind of, there's spots in it. I just remember that happening. I remember going back outside again to kind of like try to filter this through and just kind of like ground it, and so there was all of that period. There was more of the mantra. That was a whole day and night affair. And I remember, the last thing I remember that I can say that culminates that Kundalini awakening was coming back to kind of consciousness in a very peaceful feeling, like where I was kind of freaking out, like I was kind of like panicking almost, like what the fuck is going on, And but this violet purple laser flower in my mind's eye, my vision, like if I close my eyes, that's what I was seeing. And it was this most beautiful, joyous feeling. And so, but that was all very, 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 very intense. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, so there was that awakening, the actual, moments when it was awakening, and then there was the moments of putting it back together again, or assimilating back out of this almost panic, emergency, kind of weird, hyper state. And so but I can tell you, after that happened, after that immediate period of the column of the force and the visions of this, violet purple laser flower in my head, there was these days like I was like having to learn how to almost walk again, like, and it was also the sensation like as if, and this is weird, I know it, but I know what it means. I don't want to speculate on it right now. I'm just going to tell what the sensation that is that there was an awareness, another awareness inside of me, awake and looking out of my eyes. That's the only way I can explain it. Like I was connected to something that was seeing through my eyes, and it wasn't anything that was alarming. It was just like there was another awareness alive in me, and it took days. There was critical days afterwards about and I slept a lot and I drank a lot of water and all that, but then kind of getting back in the swing of things and kind of getting back into life, and that's what this video by Sadhguru talks about, and that's why I recommend it, because he talks about how life-changing and impactful that type of experience is. And that's even for people that are within a structured program who know what they're doing, or they are aware, and that is their purpose. I had this all kind of just hit me on the side of the head, right? But putting it all back together in hindsight, that video explains about how you have to be, you can't be in a regular swing of life, or rather pace of life, and go through that, because you can't, the people around you, your work, whatever it is, it's life changing, and I can testify to that with the uttermost veracity, that it is indeed, when that happens, you're never the same. And so anyway, back to this book. This book was in that magical, literally, other than the Dolores Cannon, Three Ways of Volunteers, and the Patricia Corey, No More Secrets, No More Lies, because those books were important in the period between August 11th and September 21st, or no, September 24th of 2020. This was all in 2021. So those books were important, but post the awakening, this Kundalini awakening, this book I was guided to. And this book I spent a lot of time with. And this book was, I mean, in this hyper magical twilight sort of existence, as almost like I was a child again, this book was there. And I can tell you, this book, without having to go through that, in and of itself is a catalyst. It's very powerful. The book, the way that it's set up, it leverages all aspects of a person's learning modalities. There's visual figures, images, like sacred geometry that's like comprised of the text of the books and the lessons. And just reading the introduction to the book and all that, it's telling you that the way the book is structured, and with the awareness that's infused into the book, it's actually activating DNA codes and light filaments and all this. And so it's a very powerful book, and it was at a very powerful time in my life when I was introduced to it and read it. And so it's a joy to revisit that and present that to you, my dear, esteemed, honorable, most notable, and noble viewers.
Namaste, namaskar.